HarperCollins presents A Harvest of Hearts by Andrea Eames, read by Jessie Elland.
For Lyra, the brightest star. Chapter 1. They said that magic, real magic, not the shite that the hedge witches peddled with all their little bags of powders and herbs, could only be performed in exchange for a human heart. That's why all the sorceresses who passed through our village, the ones in the big carriages with the gold scroll work and velvet curtains, were all so pretty. The sort of pretty that broke hearts, men's, and, I'm sure, some women's as well, although in general, the women seemed to be better at hiding it. When they visited, the sorceresses made a show of going into the market and buying the herbs we grew, as if they made potions like any old hedge witch. Really, though, they were sucking bits of heart out of everyone around them, and we all knew it. Yet we gathered around them, rather than shutting ourselves away indoors as we should have. That was their purpose in coming to the villages, gathering bits of heart, second-rate, hayseed hearts, little smears of heart, but enough for small spells. Each smitten man or woman gave a little bit of their heart when they saw one of these ladies, it was said, and she would pocket their devotion to use for a cantrip or a hex. They rarely took a whole heart, which would involve luring a person away, or so we believed. They seemed to gather enough of what they needed by gradual winnowing during each visit. I don't know how we knew about the hearts. It was just something we seemed to be born knowing. I suppose our parents told us the story in our cradles, but I do not remember hearing it for the first time. We knew that hearts were the only source of magic that really worked, although the odd charlatan could get away with tea leaves and herbs for a little while if their luck held. We knew a heart could be taken in bits and pieces, with the victim barely noticing, or, all at once, prized from a chest like an oyster from a shell. And we knew the sorceresses got those hearts from us, those who lived in villages far from the city and the king's palace. And what did they do with all that magic? No one knew for sure, and no one much cared. Whatever they did in the city, and they didn't concern themselves with our affairs, so we didn't concern ourselves with theirs. The ladies probably used their magics for murdering and all such, we speculated, killing people the king wanted dead, big political things. Our kingdom was never at war, and had not been for hundreds of years, as far as anyone knew, and perhaps the ladies and their magics had something to do with that. They didn't take enough from us to be a bother, and any inconvenience caused by the gradual stealing of hearts was more than made up for by the excitement of their visits, so everyone seemed to believe. That acceptance of what amounted to a slow mutilation seemed strange to me later, but at the time I was as complacent as the rest of them. So long as they kept to their city most of the time, we could cheerfully ignore them. Only one man in our village had ever actually been to the city, Goodman Welk. Well, one other had gone involuntarily, but more on that in a moment. But Welk had visited over 30 years ago, and his mind was almost gone, so he wasn't much help. None of us travelled away from the village, if we could help it, and certainly never away from the kingdom. Occasionally, travellers passed through on their way to somewhere else, but more often than not, we would see them again on their way back. They always seemed befuddled at their failure to stay gone. We were remarkably incurious, it seemed to me later, but at the time, we rarely questioned it. For the most part, in our kingdom, you probably lived out your life and died in the village where you were born. What was the point of leaving? All villages were much like ours. Beyond the borders of the kingdom lay nothing but war and danger, from what we heard, and the city held its own horrors, besides the sorceresses and their hearts. We heard stories about children in the city, abandoned by their parents, or lost, perhaps, who travelled in gangs of pickpockets, or who simply vanished. If we were bad, the adults would threaten us with the cart ride to the city to join them. Not Dar, of course, but other parents.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?